Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a homeowner, home buyer, thinking about buying a house in the future, or you are in some way connected to the real estate industry as an agent, lender, or whatever, this podcast is for you. Stay tuned as we get into it. This all circles around the Burnett case, Sitzer Burnett. What is
Sitzer Burnett.
Sitzer Burnett case involving the National Association of Realtors. And for those who don't know what the National Association of Realtors, or NAR, is, that's the largest trade organization in the United States. And anybody with the R next to their name or realtor in their tagline or byline or their signature is a member of that organization. So recently they got slapped with a $1.8 billion fine from a case that they lost. And it could get up to $5 billion or maybe even excess of it when it's all said and done. So this all goes back to, was it Sitzer Burnett? And before that one, or just before that one, it was Moeller versus NAR. You know, basically what happened was, it's all centers around buyer agent commissions. Okay. So typically what it used to be like is a seller would pay for the listing side and the buyer side of the brokerage commissions or real estate agent commissions, right? So what would happen is a listing agent would come up to a home buyer or home seller and say, hey, look, it's going to be 6% commission. And they would split it 3 and 3 with the other side, which was the buyer side. Now, this whole thing is the court cases or whatever. It's not allowing the seller to pay for that buyer agent commission. Essentially, okay, I'm going to put it down in the soups and nuts here. So they want the buyers to pay their own buyer agent commission. You know, as a homeowner, sounds cool to me because, look, do I, as a homeowner, want to pay for some dude who's representing, or dudette, who's representing the buyer to come in and negotiate against me, lower me down on price, ask me for some shit like closing cost assistance, which could cost me 3% of my purchase price. Maybe they want to come in, drop my asking price. Maybe they want to hit me up with a bunch of repairs. Why do I want to pay that motherflower money to do that to me? Doesn't sound right? And as a homeowner, that sounds reasonable, not wanting to pay that guy. So that's kind of a win, right? Not so much, man. Ladies and gents out there, and this is a think about Russian nesting dolls where everything is compiled on top of each other, right? This affects a lot of things that ultimately comes full circle and affects the home seller, unfortunately. So we'll get more into that. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and go on the table for introductions like we normally do. But it's just me and Josh today because there are so many frightened real estate professionals out there that nobody would agree to come on the podcast this time to talk about this issue because they're all clutching their purse strings so tight because they're afraid they're going to be losing money. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Everybody's going to lose money in this. And it doesn't, if you don't speak up about it, let the people know what they need to know.
Yeah, there's only one person who wins in this whole situation here, and it's the lawyers.
For sure.
I did some research. I did some research in it, and home sellers, you may choose to ban into this, and there's a bunch of postcards being mailed out to people who sold homes since 2008. But the reality is when you do the historical breakdown on class action lawsuits, the amount of money that's paid to the lawyers who represent them is normally between the range of 33 and 40%.
Damn.
So let's just take the Sitzer Burnett trial or case, for example.
Yeah.
And let's just say the payout was $1 billion, a whopping $1 billion. The attorneys, if given 40%, would make $400 million. Now, that's the pot calling the kettle black. See, they're coming after real estate agents, the National Association of Realtors, and everyone in the real estate industry saying that there was collusion that was going on. But it's the furthest thing from the truth. Real estate agents were never a part of any collusion. They never would be a part of any collusion. The most successful real estate agents are predominantly type A, very competitive. They may be Sigma type people who would cut another agent's throat before they collude with them.
Oh, no. Real estate agents are not friends, ladies and gentlemen. Out there, listen, the only person in real estate I mostly trust is Josh, because we've been working together for so long. But at the end of the day, too, I know my good friend is going to do what's in his best interest, too. So it's okay. And I understand that and I realize that. But real estate agents in general will outcompete each other for a listing, for a buyer, for a flip on a house. And we try to, get investment properties. It's just what it is. It's just hyper competitive and nobody are friends.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
In fact, it's awkward. It's awkward when you walk
if you get a bunch of us in a room
of real estate agents because everybody
looks at each other like gunslingers.
Yeah, everybody's very competitive.
Yeah.
So for the lawyers who are involved to perpetrate the lie that there was some type of collusion that was going on, it's false, ladies and gentlemen. And
we don't collude for shit.
The only people who are losing in this situation is everyone else.
Yeah.
And we're going to break all that down as we get further into this podcast. But let me make it clear right now, the only people who lose in this situation is everyone but the attorneys who are prosecuting these cases.
Yeah, they're just being opportunists, as lawyers do. That's what they do. In my experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Legal talk.
So let's talk about recently there was a court case that was settled along the same pretenses as the Sitzer Burnett case. Mm-hmm. And a Boston judge agreed to a settlement in which a $3 million payout was given. Less than 24 hours after that case was closed, the DOJ's antitrust division said, hey, we're going to reopen this. We don't believe that the settlement will prevent further incidences. My opinion on all of this is this right here. This is the result of being in a seller's market for way too long.
Way too long.
I can remember in 2017,
this wouldn't be discussion if it was a buyer's market.
18, 2019, sellers were giving buyers agents thousands of dollars in bonuses.
Not just that, it's like, oh, you want a new HVAC system? Whatever you want, just buy my fucking house.
They were paying so much more to sell their houses in 2017, 18, 19 that these postcards that these attorneys are sending out in the mail that are fighting for commissions don't even compare. I've negotiated for sellers to pay a buyer's car payment, pay their car completely off, buy out their early termination of leases to sell their houses.
Oh, yeah.
So how is it that in everything that sellers were doing to sell their houses prior to this seller's market of 2020 and the COVID epidemic, how was all of that forgotten?
Oh, it'll come back around.
Yeah,
watch.
How is all of that forgotten? And the only thing that these attorneys are targeting are the commissions that were paid, because I got cars paid off. $12,000 on your car, no problem. Here you go. We'll pay that off as part of debt reduction underneath the VA home loan. I've had that done. I've done that for my clients. And I was a buyer's agent.
Yeah, but I think what they're trying to argue here is that you did all that for a client, but then at the end of the day, the seller has to pay you to do all that to them.
Doesn't matter. It's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
That's what this is. You want to sell your house, there's a cost to do business.
Yeah.
You want to play in this marketplace, there's a cost to do business.
Well, I know what some will say, like, well, I'll just sell this shit myself. I'll just put it on.
Yeah, there's plenty of FISBOs every day who try to sell houses themselves, and they're not so successful. The average days on market for them is 41, and at day 42, they're calling a real estate agent in order to come list their property because they realize that it's not as easy as they thought it was going to be. If it was as simple as putting a house on an MLS or putting on Zillow, and it was just going to sell, it was going to magically sell itself, then there would be nobody who would be using agents. Everyone would be a FISBO.
Yeah.
It's not that simple, though.
No. There's a lot to this process. We're going to break more of it down.
And most FISBOs, by the way, offer a buyer's agent commission.
Yeah, no shit.
So, they literally, the people who aren't paying commissions to listing agents are willing to
don't
pay.
want it as a listing agent.
Yeah, they're willing to pay a commission to the buyer's agent, but they don't want to pay it to the listing agent. So why are buyer agent commissions under attack?
They just think that it's not right for the seller to pay the buyer agent commission. I think it goes deeper than that. I think it's more beyond that. I think there's a multi-billion dollar, what is it, $40-60 billion a year industry?
It's way more than that. In our MLS alone,
people
we
just
do
want a piece of the
somewhere
pie
in the
of that.
neighborhood
That's what
of
it is,
5
in
to
this
6
lawsuit.
billion. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. The only person who's going to lose in this situation is those home sellers who feel that they don't want to offer a commission. Because here's the thing. You got builders out there right now who are doing 4% commissions to buyer agents. They're offering several incentives for them. There's some that are offering a $15,000 raffle for the next 12 agents who sell their new construction houses.
Yeah.
There are several investors who rehab houses with the understanding that they're going to pay a buyer agent a commission. And you know why? Because they understand the value of what a buyer agent brings to the table.
Well, I'll tell you what, as investors right now, we'll still offer a buyer agent commission when we list our property.
1,000%.
You want to know why? Because if you're, and again, we're agents, got it. But you know, if we were not agents and we were to hire a listing agent, we're just hiring that agent to sell the house. But if we offer a buyer agent commission, I'm hiring every motherfucking agent on the MLS to bring me a motherfucking buyer. Multiple offers, preferably.
That's right. And for sellers who are trying to sell, just like investors are trying to sell for profit, just like builders are trying to sell for profit, every one of us, investors and builders, understand there's a cost of doing business.
Yeah. It's already factored in.
Goes back to what I said earlier. If you want to be a seller and you want to say, hey, I'm not going to pay a buyer agent a commission, good luck.
Good luck.
You are the opposite of a FISBO. And listen, your agent who's telling you, your agent that told you, oh, I'm going to be able to sell your house, they just lied to you. They need every other agent in the MLS to sell your house. At the end of the day, the listing agent actually does the least amount of work.
I would agree with that. And actually, if I was a listing agent and they were going to after zero on the buyer agent commission side and I had to bring the buyer, this is what I would tell a seller. Okay, great. You know, normally what we do is we have open houses on the weekends. Well, I got to showcase this house and get it sold. So what we're going to do is I need to have an open house Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So when you get home from work at 4 o'clock, I need you out of the house. So basically, when you get home from work, you got to get the dog, the kids, and everything out of the house, skip dinner, go hang out in the park somewhere, go, I don't know, go out to dinner somewhere, and wait every day until I can get a buyer who doesn't have an agent so I can write an offer for them, for you, so that I can sell your house. That's what it's going to be like.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many levels of this that's not being talked about, and the sellers, they're the ones who are the most least informed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Those people who think they're going to list their house with a 0% buyer agent commission and they're going to sell it, or their agent is going to sell it, they're sadly mistaken. It's not going to happen. Their house is going to sit on the market a lot longer, and in the end, When it's on the market 90 days, 120 days, you've lost money just because you keep paying a mortgage payment on that house every month that it doesn't sell.
Not only that, the agent's he's gonna tell you if it's been on the market over 30 days, they're gonna say, "Hey, Mr.
drop the price.
You need to drop the price."
Yeah,
but nobody wants to buy it at this price.
Dropping the price isn't the answer.
They ain't gonna do shit because there's no agents out there with buyers.
Listen, if you're a seller out there and you decided to listen to your real estate agent who said, "Hey, go ahead, list this with 0% commission, we'll get it sold,"
fire them.
And
fire
listen,
them immediately.
and you're not getting any showings, and no one's asking to see your house. There's a very good reason why no one's seeing your house. It's because your commission that you're offering is not high enough. Even if you're offering 1%, it's not high enough. Because listen, everybody values their own time and their own work that they put into it. Yeah. As a buyer's agent, you are driving around a client, showing them multiple houses per day. You are burning a lot of gas. And by the way, right now, gas is not the cheapest thing that you can use your money with. So if you're out there driving around, showing a buyer 30 houses in a weekend, and they're like, no, we didn't see anything we really want this weekend. Maybe next weekend we'll find what we want. Then you're out there another weekend showing another 30 houses. That buyer agent may have to show 90, maybe 120 houses before they actually find the house that the buyer wants to offer on. That's a heck of a lot more work than a listing agent who just does 30 minutes of listing paperwork and a quick hour interview with you. And trust me, I know I am predominantly a listing agent. If you check my track record, I have more listings than I have buyers. But I do have a fairly equal number. It's about a 55-45, but it is a lot easier and a lot less work for me just to list a house than it is to work with the buyer. And I'll go on the record and say it again. We have no one else in the studio with us today because no one else wants to talk about this topic.
No. And it's crazy. It's not like for a lack of effort that we try to get guests on here. We went from like lawyers to lenders to everything we could possibly get to get somebody on here, and nobody wants to dare comment on this. It's because it's going to monumentally affect the entire real estate industry. And you were talking about what a buyer agent does to show homes and stuff like that. It's more than just opening up a door. You guys don't realize when a person comes as a buyer to us, it's not like they come out of nowhere and they say, "Hey, I'm ready to buy a house. Let's go." No, it doesn't start like that. A lot of times what it is we have some sort of advertising out there, whether it be Google or through Zillow or some other platform. And what happens is that buyer's not ready to buy a house right now. They're just kind of thinking about it. They're not serious yet. This takes anywhere from 3 months minimum to 9 months.
Very minimum 3 months.
To a year plus. That you, as the buyer agent, or want to be their buyer agent, you have to sit with them and guide them and talk to them and answer their questions late at night and all these things. Because if they're a first-time home buyer especially, it becomes very difficult for them because this is all new. This is very scary. This is a huge purchase. This is not like just going to the car dealership and buying a car or going to Zales and buying a wedding ring. This is really serious stuff. So, of course, they're very concerned. They read a bunch of shit on Reddit and don't know what to do. So you, as the agent, you have to guide them, keep things calm, and show them the light, and show them and educate them as you go until they're ready to buy. And then you got to get them to the right lender, which, by the way, in our business, you have every motherfucking hand up saying they want to be a lender and help you with your buyers. So you got 50 fucking lenders wanting to be your, go-to lender.
Yeah, you're number one. I'll be your number 3. I'll be your number 5 lender. Like, I'm not trying to be your number 1. I just want to be your number 5 lender.
Yeah, phone calls, emails, and all this shit for agents all the time. But anyway, by the time you get that buyer pre-qualified for that loan, so that they're in a position to buy, this took over sometimes almost 2 years in the making. So who wants to put that much time into getting that buyer ready to go if they're not going to get paid shit? Yeah. Why they're just, then you would say, okay, well, we're just going to, tell the buyer that they need to pay, their buyer agent commission. Well, peep game. Not everybody has 20, 25% to put down on a conventional loan. A lot of folks will go with the FHA option if they're not going with the VA zero money down loan for those veterans and active duty. We're going to get more into that too in a second. But an FHA buyer, check this out. If they're trying to get a $400,000 loan, okay, they need to put 3.5% down. Okay, 3.5% down on a $400,000 house is $14,000. Okay, they also have to, so they have to save that. Okay, we're talking about middle income people here, mostly at the $400,000 range.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, not only that, they have to put their earnest money deposit down. It varies by state, but let's say in our state, $1,000, kind of normal around that range. Home inspection fee, $400. Appraisal fee, $600. Closing costs from your lender. This is what the motherfucking lender is going to charge you.
Yep.
About 3% on average, the purchase price. Probably a lot more, but a little bit more. But around 3%. Let's just say that for easy math.
Yeah, it's not 100% the lender, but it's a good part of it is the lender. They charge loan origination, points, things like that.
All these junk fees and shit.
But you do have your homeowner's insurance and the closing costs as well.
Prepaid taxes, all that other shit.
But there's a bulk of it that goes to the lender.
Well, let's just say, for the fuck of it, let's just say 3%, $12,000.
Yep.
Okay, that's another $12,000. Okay, now you have to pay your own buyer agent commission too.
Oh yeah,
that's another 3%. Let's say $12,000 again. So for a $400,000 house, FHA buyer, middle class person, needs to come up now. If they're going to pay their own buyer agent commission, $40,000 motherfucking dollars.
Yeah,
$40,000. So out of the old way, where the seller would pay the buyer agent commission, they would only have to come up with $28,000. So this is what this is going to do. Okay, that's more money that a middle income person has to come up with in this scenario. That's pushing the goalpost down even further of home ownership. You're going to have less buyers in the market. And everybody has to realize when they think about their home values, what that really means. Okay. Oh, how much money will this add to my house if I do X, Y, and Z? Well, this is what it comes down to. It's what the buyer is willing to pay for your house. It's market value, just like copper, lumber, oil. It's all about supply and demand. You've got less people demanding your shit because they can't
afford it.
Yep. Your home values are going to drop because who's going to buy your shit if they can't afford to buy it?
Yeah. But the other thing, what it's going to do is it's going to make those people who are investors, builders, and savvy home sellers, it's going to make them get the money that they deserve because buyers are going to have to naturally gravitate towards the listings that are offering a buyer agent commission because $40,000 just isn't gonna. It's not gonna be enough. They're not gonna be able to save that much money.
They're not.
And listen, we've done this. Like I've been doing this for 10 years. I've very rarely come across clients who are putting $40,000 down in order to buy a house.
No.
All right, and it's definitely not a $400,000 house. It's $1 million plus home that they're putting that much money down or more on.
That's the only people that's gonna have money like that.
Exactly. So, but for those builders, they're going to do business and it's going to be like yesterday. It's not going to affect them any, right? And if you're a home seller and you're asking yourself of whether or not you should put a buyer agent commission down, well, ask yourself, why would a builder who is a for-profit person offer a commission? Yeah. Then ask yourself, why would an investor who's in the business of flipping houses to make money, why would they offer a commission? Because they know that the commission is what drives the sale. Yeah. If you're out there,
it's the carrot.
Yeah, it's the carrot that's dangling to bring everyone to the transaction, to the table to make it happen. But if you're a seller out there and you think you're just going to make a bunch of money and you're going to be able to keep everything that you want and get everything that you want, you are sadly mistaken because that house will sit. Just like the
Nobody's going to demand it. Nobody's going to demand it.
That's right. Because it's not that they're not going to demand it, but why would they? Who wants to pay an extra $12,000 on a $400,000 house when there's another house right over here that maybe not the best, but the square footage isn't the same, but we can live with that. The kitchen's not updated, but with the $12,000 that we're going to save from not paying a buyer agent commission, we could make ourselves a gourmet kitchen that we really want. Yeah. So in the end, the sellers who fall victim to this propaganda that's being put out that you don't have to pay a buyer agent commission, you're the one who loses in this whole thing.
Yeah, because, you got to think about it, shoe on the other foot thing, like you were just explaining. So if you're a homeowner, I'm a homeowner too, so I got to look at it from my perspective as well. If I'm thinking I'm going to save money by not paying a buyer agent commission, the home buyer is also thinking something similar, but for their needs.
Absolutely. Everybody is in this for their own needs. Yeah. And that's the reason why the word collusion should never be uttered in real estate. No,
there's no agents are colluding for shit.
No one is colluding in this industry. I
we're all in
promise you that.
Competition against each other.
It is backbiting 101.
Backstabbing, everything you can think of. That's
nobody's colluding here.
Yeah, we hate on each other all fucking day. Yeah. There's no way we're colluding.
But again, I would be curious to see the data on how many listings pre-2020, the seller's market that's going on that was actually created due to COVID. It wouldn't be here. If COVID never happened, this seller's market would have never happened. So for all these lawsuits to go back to 2008 after the last housing market collapse, why didn't it go back to 2001?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's see how. We were just talking about our colleagues and stuff, the real estate agents. Did you know at that lawsuit, the against NAR, Sitzer, Burnett, and there's some people that settled already.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So guess who settled? This is basically they bent the knee.
Yep.
They kowtowed. So anywhere. That's the owner of Caldwell Banker, Century 21, Sotheby's, Era Real Estate, Better Homes and Gardens, Remax, and Keller Williams all bent the knee and said, we'll settle. I think some of them were like 70 million, something like that when I was reading in the articles. Yeah.
But listen, again, it speaks to the point that there's no collusion in real estate because, listen, if there was collusion in real estate, every one of these brokerages that you just named off, they would be piling behind the NAR saying, hey, look, we're throwing our money behind you. We're in. What's up?
There's only one brokerage that is standing with the NAR at this point. That's Home Services of America and Berkshire Hathaway.
They're going to make out. They're going to make out because they are proving – they are standing 10 toes down on this and saying, listen, there's no collusion.
Yeah.
All of these other brokerages, they've settled because that's how real estate is. It's cutthroat anyway. So they all accepted the daggone bailout. Okay, pay us this much money and you can get out of this and we'll let you out, right? There's no collusion in real estate. There's nobody in this industry who's going to be your friend. There's no brokerage that is a friend of a brokerage. None of it. It's all competitive. It's all competition. It is a A-type personality, dominant trait industry.
You know what's fucking crazy about this, right? So the Sitzer Burnett thing, right? It's centered around NAR's clear cooperation policy and compensation requirements in the multiple listing service, also known as the MLS. If everybody's ever heard of that. So basically, the MLS requirements or NAR's policy, whichever the one it was, said that the seller had to provide a buyer agent something. Couldn't be zero, at very least 1 cent.
Yeah, listen, it couldn't be zero because guess what? No one works for zero. No one works for zero. In what industry has anyone ever worked for you for zero?
But that's the thing. So, like, even though NAR's willingness to accept 1 penny, the sellers offer at least 1 penny, that I guess that was enough to determine that it was unacceptable to like the plaintiffs. So that's how all this litigation is happening.
Well, why didn't the people
they're feeling like they're forced to do it?
Listen, why didn't they offer a penny?
Nobody's going to offer a fucking penny.
And that's right. Because you know why? They know no one fucking works for a penny.
No. Nobody's going to work for that.
Listen, real estate agents want the same level of respect as anyone else. Why do attorneys charge ridiculous retainer fees?
Yeah, no shit.
Yo, again, the pot calling the kettle black. Listen, the attorneys are the only people who are making any money in this transaction. Sellers, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
Yeah.
Don't think that you're just going to be able to tackle this on your own. There are several people who tried to sell their house on their own as FSBOs, and that didn't work out for them. Don't be that person.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, homeowners can do whatever the hell they want and figure it out on their own. You know, maybe they'll get lucky, maybe they won't. I'll tell you what, as an investor, I'm going to continue offering it. I'm going to continue offering it because
we're smart and we know what drives the sell. The money is what drives the sell, and it drives everything in this society. It literally drives everything in the society. If the attorneys weren't going to get any money out of the sell or out of this litigation, they wouldn't do it. No. They wouldn't file a lawsuit for you if they weren't getting paid.
No.
Nobody works for the goodness of their heart.
No matter as pro bono shit.
No matter as much as they want you to believe, they're not working this just for the goodness of their heart.
And no buyer agent is going to work pro bono. So, well, we got more to this, but this really, look, it makes me sound bad doing this when I say this, but by not offering a buyer agent commission, that really disenfranchises certain other groups, not just people with lower income. I'll tell you what, lower income folks with under 620 credit scores, you guys are fucked in this, completely fucked. And the reason why is because, number one, they can't hire their own agent. They can never afford to pay a buyer agent commission.
That's correct.
That's the number one thing.
Number two is builders don't build houses cheap enough for you to qualify for it now.
Nope.
There's no such thing as affordable new construction.
No, there's not.
We talked to builders.
We talked about it. Yeah, we had it in the last podcast. On one of our previous podcasts anyway.
Yeah. So therefore, you're kind of in limbo, unfortunately. There may be a rehab that comes along where an investor is going to pay a buyer agent commission and is something that's in the affordable range for you. But other than that, it's going to be very difficult for lower income families to buy houses. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a few months ago, we did a podcast on where we were like, why are billionaires buying up a bunch of houses? And why are companies like, I think it was JP Morgan and a few others that were contracting builders to build nothing but rentals for them?
Yeah, with long-term lease contracts.
Yeah, they knew this was coming.
Yeah.
They knew that this was going to create a culture of renters.
Well, this is perpetuating it and pouring gasoline on that, because what's happening now is by a buyer hiring, because I'm telling you, right, everybody, look, homeowners, you're probably like, well, I don't want to pay still. Like, listen, I get it. It's not something you want to pay. As a homeowner myself, I don't want to pay for a buyer agent commission. But I understand the necessity behind it, because there's so much areas of the industry that rely on the buyer agent. It's ridiculous. So not only do first-time home buyers, they need that agent. Now, if you're a seasoned homeowner and you've owned a couple houses or a house before, this may not apply to you, because you get it, you understand it. But a first-time home buyer, man, look, they're like deer. They're skittish as shit. They don't necessarily want to commit to it. They're not sure if they want to do it. Their parents bought when they were 40, whatever the reason may be. They're not really willing to commit because they're scared. They're not sure if this is the right time. All this other shit. Okay. You get the first time home buyers out of the mix. Now you're left with the seasoned professionals, home buyers. Okay. I'll tell you what, they're not going to be nice to you. They'll drop you 30, 40 grand on your price. They will ask you for a ton of shit. And if you have no other buyers showing up, that's your buyer. That's who you're working with. But what a buyer agent does and what helps out is, you know, they help negotiate the process. You know, actually, you know, a lot of times buyer agents will help check their buyers and say, hey, look, you know, hey, you want to negotiate, you probably shouldn't drop them 30 G's if they've only been on the market a day. Yeah. You know, it gives you some good advice on how to negotiate in order to get that transaction finished and moving on.
Yeah. Well, this is how I sum it up. The buyer's agent is the face of the transaction.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, the listing agent starts the transaction.
They have their names on their signs, their faces on their signs.
Exactly. They start the transaction, but the buyer's agent is the face of the transaction.
Yeah.
The buyer agent has to get this buyer to commit to the property, get them to a lender, get them qualified for the loan program, do the home inspection, negotiate repairs, calm first-time home buyers' fears about repairs, and then
they all scared the house is falling apart.
Exactly.
One little problem.
And then get the buyer to the appraisal, through the final walkthrough, and then to closing.
Right.
The listing agent shows up at a house. And again, for those haters who are out there, I know somebody's critiquing me. I'm predominantly a listing agent, so check my stats. But you show up to a listing appointment, you speak to the seller, you build rapport, you build the business relationship that's necessary to show them that you are qualified to represent them and list their house and negotiate on their behalf to the best of your ability. But without the buyer agent, most times the house doesn't get sold.
No.
And you can go back and fact check this. There's probably less than 10% of all the real estate done, at least in our area, where the listing agent actually represents
both of them
selling the buyer's agent, right?
Yeah.
And not to brag, but I am the number 23 agent in Hampton Roads MLS. And out of the 81 deals I did last year, 8 of them were double-ended. But I'm in the less
double-ended meaning you represent the buyer side and the seller side of the transaction.
Exactly.
As a dual agent.
But I'm in the top less than 0.5% of this industry. And so if I only did 10%, there's no way the other 99.5% did better than 10%.
Yeah. So it's a lot more difficult in that.
It's 100% more difficult. It's not as easy as, I'll just list your house and I'll get your buyer also. No. Only in 10% of those cases did that happen for me.
So check this out. So another thing, another section of the real estate profession that rely on buyer agents like a lot are lenders. So most agents have some sort of preferred lender, either through some sort of agreement with their brokerage, which that is the real estate company. If you're thinking Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker, just naming off names, that's a brokerage. And the people that work under there are the agents or salespersons or whatever. But they have their own business-to-business relationships, and they have to disclose that, of course. But all these lenders in here that are not taking this seriously, of the buyer agent commission being in jeopardy, I would really, really take this to heart, because if you have less buyer agents sending you referrals, where are you getting your business from?
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you're a known lender, a known bank, let's just say some names, Chase, Bank of America, or whoever that home buyer is going to get the loan, likely they'll go to their own bank that they do banking with, or they'll go through the name that everybody knows their name.
Potentially. But I think so, because who has ever heard of XYZ mortgage company? Realistically. Yeah, I get it. But here's where, because we're going to get into this, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of referral programs that are out there, right?
Oh, these guys are fucked.
And a lot of times buyers don't know they're in a referral program.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you're out there and you're like, am I in a buyer referral program? Here's typically how it goes. It is some lender. I'll just name a few of them that I know have programs.
Yeah.
Navy Federal Credit Union.
Yep.
Rocket Mortgage.
Yep.
Veterans United.
Yeah.
Veterans United.
Yeah.
They're supposed to serve our veterans, and it's
Does
a
any
referral
veterans
program.
actually work there?
I don't know. It's questionable, but maybe there's somebody who works there.
We're veterans, by the way. Just saying.
100% veterans. Retired veterans at that. But then we come to Zillow.
Yeah.
They are.
That's a lot to extrapolate right there.
It is. It's a lot. So let's break down the lenders first.
Okay. Yeah.
The lenders usually work like this. Hey, buyer, if you use our lending services, our home loan, and you use our agent, who most of these agents are substandard, and I'm sorry if you're offended by that comment, but they're substandard agents. I get complaints all the time from buyers who are in buyer referral programs that their agent is substandard. That agent gives a portion of their commission back to the lender who referred them. And then the lender who referred them gives a portion of that money back to the buyer in the form of an incentive.
Yeah, it makes their closing costs a little
It could be
bit cheaper.
closing costs. It could be like you get a rebate or something, right?
And what do they do with the other part of the commission?
They pocket it. They put it in their pocket. This is a money-making stream of income for them. Now, here's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
In an environment where the buyers are paying their own commission, if you, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, decide to be a part of any of these referral programs and you have to pay your real estate agent their commission in order to get this incentive, you are essentially working with this agent, paying them to work for you, and then the agent gives 30, 40, 35, 40% of their commission back to the referring source that you paid for already, only for them to say, hey, thank you for doing business with us. Here's $1,800 of your $10,500, $14,000 commission that you paid to your agent back. You literally paid for your representation twice.
Oh man.
So I'm laughing. It's not necessarily funny.
We're telling you about behind the scenes shit that comes on with real estate.
The stuff that they're not going to tell you is what we're telling you. That's why we're here tonight by ourselves. But the reality is if some lender is offering you an incentive to use them, you're in a referral program.
Yeah.
And if you have to pay your commission to your buyer's agent, any amount, 1%, 2%, $5,000, a flat fee, whatever it is, if you have to pay them a commission and then the lender pays you back, then essentially you paid the lender
twice
to give you
in your closing costs and in that referral.
Yeah, you paid them to give you an inflated rate, which most of the referral programs have an inflated rate because there's a cost of doing business that they associate with advertising. I said the cost of doing business. Sellers pick up on that. If lenders are willing to pay a cost to do business, you should pay a cost to do business as well. You should at least accept the idea that you might have to pay a cost to do business. But buyers, there's a reality that you may end up paying for your own incentive that these lenders are offering to you.
You know, there's other incentive programs. Let's talk about Zillow, because since we both were Premier agents. Oh, yeah. So Zillow Premier agents. So we were part of this program where we would buy leads from Zillow. So what that means is basically you guys, buyers, when you're out around, searching around on Zillow, clicking on properties, contact agent, you think you're getting to the listing agent, but you really never are. You're going to the buyer agent.
Send you to listing agent.
No. It's always the buyer agent who is paying.
They do have a new program, but the listing agent has to pay for it in order to get the leads sent directly to them. But
lead is being you guys, the buyers, the users, users on that website. So Zillow had this other program. It was called their Flex program. So basically what they would do is they would have agents in a local area, and they would take 35% of whatever commission they got and send it back to Zillow. So if homeowners don't require or are not going to pay a buyer agent commission, what does Zillow get?
Nothing. Well,
unless the buyer pays for it.
Yeah, the buyer is going to have to pay for it. They're literally paying Zillow to shop for houses on their website. When you think about the dynamic of that, in all of the things that the lawsuits are tackling, you would think these referral programs would be a part of this tackling, right? Yeah. Because a lot of this stuff here that they're doing is questionable.
Yeah, to say the least.
To say the least, it's questionable. But yeah, you're right. If you are a buyer and you're shopping on Zillow and you happen to click on the request more information button, there is a chance that you get sent to a agent who is one of Zillow's Flex partners, and then that agent will have to pay 35% of their commission back to Zillow. But if you're the buyer and you have to pay your own commission, did you just pay Zillow 35% to shop for houses on their website?
Yes, you did.
When you could go to any website and it's free.
Right.
So like literally let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
There are so many other aspects of the real estate industry that need to be tackled and be taken down, but they're coming after the agents who do all the work, by the way.
Yeah.
The fact that the house shows on Zillow is only there because the listing agent listed the house. The fact that a buyer may buy a house may come from the fact that Zillow shows it on there and they've advertised themselves and become like the number one place where buyers shop for homes. That's a possibility. But the agent, the buyer's agent, is the one who does all of the heavy lifting, driving around, showing the houses, open the doors,
writing the
offers,
Yep.
talking the buyer off the ledge.
Yeah, because they're like scared deer.
Yeah,
I mean, every
first time
little,
home buyer. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, like,
oh my God,
there's termites.
what do? Forget this house. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Or
what
I
they
quit.
think.
I don't want to do it. I just go rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more work that's done on the buyer side, and the buyer's agents actually earn their commission. And
I would definitely agree so.
If I didn't believe
More so than the listing agents.
if I didn't believe that the buyer's agents earn their commission, I would sit here and tell you flat out they don't deserve their commission. But that's not the case.
No, they're the hardest working agents.
They are. They are the hustlers that drive this industry.
Yeah.
Most of the listing
Somebody
agents,
has to pay them.
Exactly.
Okay.
But most of the listing agents I know are the ones that just sit back and drink coffee in the office all day.
They do Instagram videos and shit.
They got some agent, they got some name for themselves, and they're not actually out there beating the streets anymore.
No.
People call them because they done business with them maybe 20 years ago.
Or some friend did business
Some
with them.
friend did business with them 20 years ago. Their name is well known. Even in this area here, we have a lot of real estate agents that are also prominent people within the governing body of the cities in one form or fashion. And they use that in order to, keep their real estate dreams alive.
We talked about a lot about the commission and everything. The other thing that we want to talk about is all the other industries that are affected by the buyer agent. See, the buyer agent actually is the catalyst of business to other things. We talked about lenders. Okay, so let's stick on the lender for a minute. All right, home buyers, this is how you negotiate lenders. I'm going to tell you exactly right now because there's a lot of them in our business that are just staying mum and don't want to come on the podcast and all this other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you how to negotiate against lenders. You go to a lender, you ask them for a breakdown of what your loan would be. Okay, once you're qualified with loan, the very next thing you're going to ask them for is a loan estimate. And the bullshit in an email is not going to work. You need to have an itemized list of all the charges they're going to charge you as closing costs at the end. If they just put that shit in the email, disregard it. It's garbage. It doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, it's not an official documentation.
Put it in a PDF file, broken down, line item by line item. That's what you're looking for. Okay? The bullshit in the email, whatever they say, it could be this, could be that at this interest rate. Fuck that shit. It doesn't work. You need to have the itemized list. That is the loan estimate. Take that loan estimate. Go to your another lender and tell them to beat it. See if they can beat it. Okay? Ask them. Which they will. Because they will cut each other's fucking throats.
Again, the reason why there's no collusion in real estate.
Get another loan estimate. Take it to the next guy or gal, whoever that loan officer is, and do the same thing. Rinse and repeat. Do the same thing until you're at a state where the last two or three are kind of similar. At that point, you're at the bottom.
Yep.
You're at the bottom of your negotiation. Pick one, go forward. That's how you negotiate against lenders.
Yeah. And at that point, then service becomes the catalyst, right? In an environment where all things are equal, service to the clients is the thing that has never gone away. People joke about Chick-fil-A all the time and about My Pleasure.
No, that's awesome. I love Chick-fil-A because of that.
I love them too. But there are people who joke about it all the time. But at the end of the day, every time you joke about My Pleasure, guess what? Chick-fil-A is at the top of your mind. It's ingrained in your brain. And so therefore it's living in your brain rent-free because you're joking about my pleasure. But at the end of the day, service to the client is the one thing that sets you apart from everybody else when everything else is equal.
Yeah.
When the playing field is leveled, your level of service to your clients is the one thing that only you can control. Mm-hmm. And that is how you beat everyone else.
Yeah.
Now, for lenders, level of service is going to be difficult for a lot of people because there are a lot of lenders out there who have just been stacking bodies because this has been a quantity over quality.
Real estate companies been doing the
Real
same
estate
shit.
companies also, quantity over quality. And when I say quantity over quality and stacking bodies, what I mean is this right here. Their business model relies on them continuously recruiting to bring new agents or new loan officers on into that business, that mortgage company, or that brokerage. And the reason why is they believe, well, if I recruit 500 agents and each one of them just does one transaction, that's 500 transactions for my company.
Yeah.
Right. They're not necessarily looking for the top 10% who do 90% of the business. They will try to persuade a few of them over there by saying, hey, we're the second largest brokerage in this area, or we're the fourth largest brokerage in this area.
Got outstanding customer service, great interest
come
rates.
join our company.
We close in less days.
Yeah.
You know.
But at the end of the day, this comes down to service. And this comes down to a lot of education and a lot of hard conversations. Literally, no one wants to have the conversation we're having tonight.
No.
But here we are.
No.
Because we are so passionate about what we do.
I mean, in a sense, we're putting our own careers in the line.
We are, because there's somebody out there who's going to watch this, who's going to try to bury us and use our words against us, twist the narrative, and use it for their own, counter advertising, if you will, and say, oh, you don't want this guy or this person as your agent, etc.
I'm always going to tell you the truth, and that's why we're here today, and this is why we have a podcast, and that's why.
Yeah.
We have no fear.
But for the mortgage lenders, and those out there in the referral business, when
hold your nuts,
when there's no incentive that can be offered, because the DOJ has adamantly spoken and said they want the real estate commissions decoupled. And what that means is as a listing agent, when I go in and I talk to a seller, the only thing I'm talking about is my commission. About,
as a listing agent.
About what I'm going to do for them as their listing agent. I'm not talking about the buyer, the buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent commission. That's what decoupled means. If the seller so chooses to give one, they may. But primarily when I go in, I'm going to be talking about just me, my commission, and how I'm going to sell their house.
Yeah.
So when that day comes, and from the writing on the wall, it sounds like it's coming sooner than later. When you're not able to offer an incentive, the standard of service that you provide is what's going to keep you in this business. Because you're no longer going to be able to offer incentive programs to real estate agents to feed you business.
Right.
And there are a lot of lenders, brokerages that are just relying on agents to feed them business.
Yeah. It's going to be in it for ourselves. If we're getting a listing, we're only going to focus on that seller and we'll bring our own buyer to it. That's it. I think what in the end, what's going to happen is the thing about, I'm going back to what I said before, is real estate is supply and demand. Okay. How many buyers are out there looking for it? That's what's going to drive your home values up, is people bidding on properties. Less people bidding on properties, and more your home values will drop. I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but is the Department of Justice thinking of that? That it's going to help drive down property values, because it's a big complaint with a lot of people, that inflated property values that a lot of people see.
Well, they clearly stated they want to see more competition in the real estate.
There's going to be less competition because less buyer agents are going to want to fuck with buyers because there's no money in it.
Yeah. I mean, and we almost missed one of the key pieces of this, because our veterans out there,
Yeah. Oh, shit.
they cannot pay for their own commissions.
No.
The VA Home Loan Guidelines, Chapter 8, page 8-10, says that home buyers using a VA home loan are not allowed to pay for real estate services such as admin fees and real estate commissions.
I'll do one better for you, homie. I'll go ahead and quote it.
Okay, cool.
VA Guidelines, Chapter 8. Fees and commissions charged by a real estate agent or broker in connection with a VA loan may not be charged or paid by the veteran purchaser. While use of a buyer broker is not precluded, veteran purchasers may not, under any circumstances, verbatim, be charged a broker's fee or commission in connection with the services of such individuals. Such information on property available for purchase and financing options is widely available to the public from a variety of sources. VA does not believe that preventing the veteran from paying buyer broker fees will harm the veteran. Now, here's the thing. If you're a veteran like us, I served 20 years and retired. You served 20 years and retired. Combined together, we have 40 years of service. Here's what I will tell you, going back to my time on active duty. If I was going to the next duty station, okay, when I bought my house, okay, I was moving from Louisiana. I was at Navy Recruiting District, New Orleans. I was in the recruiting district at the time. Mm-hmm. I was moving to Virginia Beach, Virginia. All right. I had a real estate agent that basically held my motherfucking hand and guided me through the entire process. That's what actually, it was so good, it actually made me want to become an agent. But anyway, he guided me through the whole thing. I didn't have to worry about anything because what I was worrying about was my move. How am I going to get my family across country? All the logistics involved in that and getting a house set up and everything. He helped me guide me through that. Because if I didn't have him here, what I would do is just say, okay, I'll do base housing. I'll do a fucking rental. I'll be done with it. Maybe sometime down the road, I'll think about buying a house. Because now that you, as a veteran, even if you have $50,000, $100,000 sitting in your bank account, you cannot pay for a buyer agent. It's against the rules in VA if you're going to use your VA loan with no money down. So now you cannot, even if you have the money, hire your own agent.
Yeah, and I mean, this is critical. If you are in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, the majority of home loans that are done in this area are
greater than 60%.
VA home loans.
Yeah.
So if you are selling your house and you say, I'm not going to pay a commission, well, then you're not going to sell your house most likely because you have a very small probability that you're going to come across a FHA or a conventional buyer who's going to buy that house.
And nobody's going to use fucking conventional loans because their interest rates are way too high.
Way too high. And
so it's only going to be FHA buyers.
Only people are going to use them are people who are in non-conforming situations, which are millionaires, and it's not going to be a situation or people who are looking to buy $1 million houses.
But if they're millionaires, they're not buying a $400,000 fucking house.
Exactly.
It's just what it is.
Yeah. And so for the sellers out there, if you happen to be maybe in, say, Jacksonville, where there's also a large military presence, or San Diego, California,
Corpus Christi, Texas, or
there you go, Chicago, Illinois, I would imagine around Great Lakes where the boot camp is for the Navy.
I'll have to ask my sister. She's a realtor there.
And then, Everett, Washington, Bremerton, Washington. There are a lot of areas that are affected by this. And, there are some particular states that, act quite, it's kind of odd, but there are a few states out there that have a higher propensity for people to join the military.
Yeah.
My great state of Pennsylvania is one of them. Hoorah. In Texas,
family in Philly, so.
Texas is another one. There is a higher propensity of people from Texas who join the military.
Yeah.
So if you were in one of those states where you have people who are proud to serve the military and proud to wear the colors of this country, then you have to be concerned about this because these veterans cannot, according to the law, or the guidelines, I should say, of the VA home loan pay for their own commission. Now, what makes this kind of crazy and almost an oxymoron is we have one government entity pushing to decouple commissions and say, no, the seller shouldn't pay for it. And then we have another, I wouldn't say entity, but maybe a department that regulates government entities, the VA, who says, hey, no, you can't use our loan and pay for your own commission. You have these two kind of like, nah, you have to pay for your own commission. No, you can't pay for your own commission. What's happening here? It's creating a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
But again, the only people who are winning here are the lawyers.
Right. They get their out of the settlement. They get their piece of the pie.
A huge chunk of the settlement. Whereas
at least that's what I believe.
The sellers, after the lawyers take their chunk of the money, you may get a couple $100 back. But is it really worth all of the unraveling of a good system that is based on hard work and merit? Like, there's a lot of people who said, oh, I'm going to become a real estate agent. And then they get into the business and they realize, like, no, this is way harder than I thought. Like, I just seen people sell a lot of houses, holding keys. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing before this right here because this ain't it.
Yeah.
Right? So, in part, these laws are killing entrepreneurship. It's killing the people who are wanting to go out there and try to work as hard as they can, who believe in a good day's pay for a hard day's work.
I think this is killing more than entrepreneurship on our part. Is killing home values. So because think about
home ownership too.
You think about it. I own a house. I own property. You own property.
Yep.
And let's say our property, I don't know, let's say 500,000, just for the sake of good math here. Let's say both of us own a home worth 500,000. So worth $500,000 is based on what the buyers are willing to pay for it at that time. Okay. If you have less buyers in the market now wanting to pay that same amount for that house, they're not going to, those limited buyers, they're going to pay the buyer agent commission for themselves. Don't want to pay $500,000 for your freaking house because those are inflated costs, but they're in it for $450,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's buy and demand.
It's supply and demand. So now you're because at the end of the day, no matter what your home value you think it is, it's only on paper. It's what the buyer is willing to pay for it. The same thing if you walk into a retail store and you say 50% off, 60% off, clearance. That's inventory that retailer could not get rid of, so they have to discount it in order to get rid of it. So what do you think happens if you have a plethora of homes and a limited amount of buyers? You think you're just going to carry around that $500,000 net worth on that house indefinitely?
No.
It's going to be based on what the buyer is going to go on clearance. It's based on what that buyer is willing to pay for that house. And you know what? The limited buyers that can pay for their buyer agent commissions are going to tell their agent, you know what, $500,000 is way too much. And you know what that buyer agent says he's getting paid by? That buyer says, yeah, I think we can hit him at $450,000.
Yeah.
And ask them for closing costs. Ask them for a new HVAC. All this other shit.
Yeah. And then you're going to pay way more money in order to sell your house. Now, these lawsuits tell you that they're going to get you money back. You're no longer going to have to pay commissions. Well, you're right. You may not have to pay commissions, but you're going to feel the cost of a commission, and it's going to be many times over. And guess what? When this seller's market ends, and it will end. It will end. When them buyers come back around and it's a buyer's market, they're going to be coming for blood.
They're going to be very, very picky on whatever house they get. So home sellers, I will say that. And, you know, this is probably not the most, you know, sensitive example. Mm-hmm. But let's draw the comparison here. They're going to be looking for everything perfection in that property. They're going to be looking for the most updated HVAC, the most updated roof, the most updated appliances. Everything sings in great condition. And I'll tell you what, Mr. Seller, if you have not been keeping up with home maintenance, that's going to be a problem for you. If you have not updated that HVAC system that's 17 years old, that's going to be a problem for you. If you have not replaced that roof that's 20 years old, that's going to be a problem for you. Because if you have a bunch of buyers what a bunch of agents bring into you and it's driving that house value up, those things could be overlooked because it's a competition. You have too many people that are out competing against each other, but if they're not competing, they're going to be selective.
Yep.
And you know what? Before you list that house, you better make sure it's picture perfect.
Yeah. Well, one HVAC system is equivalent to
$9,000.
the commission.
$7,000.
Yeah, it's equivalent to the commission on about a $300,000 house. So that HVAC not being updated, that's going to be something very easy that the buyer's agent points out.
Haven't been keeping up with that crawl
It's at
space.
the end of its life expectancy. Roof? No, you don't want this. It's about to go out. So
your appliance is not new. They're 10 years old. Ooh, yeah.
So yeah,
it's going to be tough.
Sellers, this situation is not good for you. So don't think that these people are championing you on, because this is not a good situation for you. You should actually go against it and say, hey, I'm not going to participate in this, because the agent who did my transaction, they gave good quality service and work, and I appreciate what they did. I sold my home in a timely manner, and I was able to go on to whatever the next chapter of my life was. Don't fall victim to the lawyers who are telling you they're going to get you a lot of excess money, because in the end, you're just a number in the lawsuit. And when the math is done, you're going to be shortchanged.
Because it's them. They want to collect that
That's it.
big section of the settlement. The
Just
big
told you, on a
piece
$1 billion
of the pie.
lawsuit, the attorneys are going to collect somewhere between $330 and $400 million. The remaining amount will be divided up amongst however many plaintiffs there are, how many other people came out and complained. That's what will happen.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a small fraction of what you thought you were going to get. And in the end, you're going to help topple this industry that is going to eventually haunt you down the road.
Yeah. There'll be less buyer agents in the mix, less buyers, and less demand for your house. That's really what it comes down to. If you don't pay the agents to bring the buyers, like I said before, you get a listing agent to list your house, you're hiring that agent. You pay a buyer agent commission, you're hiring every fucking agent.
And they're all hungry.
And they're all hungry and they want to win your house. But if you have nobody out there, you have no bait for the fish, no bait for the sharks. You're just fishing with no bait.
Clean hooks.
Clean hooks.
So, in closing, I asked myself, I said, okay, what happens if there is a catastrophic collapse of the real estate industry? Because let's be honest, we looked it up. The National Association of Realtors has about $3.3 billion in assets. And if they get hit with $1 billion lawsuit after $1 billion lawsuit after $1 billion lawsuit, it's only a matter of time before they go deep, before they go belly up.
They run out of insurance. They run out of money. They can't do it anymore. They have to close it no more. And solve it.
Yep. And so therefore, at this time, the attorneys have collected their money because they won in the very early ons, and they're just going to keep bleeding this horse dry. But what goes with the NAR, I'm sorry, NAR.
Not National Rifle Association.
is the MLSs.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the smaller little brother of the National Association of Realtors, where they don't make nowhere near as much money as the National Association of Realtors does. And somebody could fact check me. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I see the MLSs as more localized, and their fees.
The fees are smaller than the
fees
MLS
are a lot
than the
smaller.
NAR, because in our area, last time I'm not a realtor.
Yeah,
You're not a
neither am I.
realtor. You know, so last time I was a realtor, I think the fees, and this was 6 years ago, when I was a realtor, part of NAR, via membership, I think it was like $800 a year. And to be MLS, it was like $250 every 3 months or some shit.
Yep, 4 months, but yep.
Yeah.
No, you are right, 3 months.
Yeah, so they collect
Quarterly.
a shit ton more money,
Yeah.
I would think.
So
Does that math work? I don't know. Anyway.
yeah.
You're better at math than me, homie.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more people that are paying. The MLS has a smaller number of people who are paying into their pot of money, if you will, vice the National Association of Realtors. But so if the National Association of Realtors fails, most likely the MLSs will fail right behind them. They're not built to sustain million or billion-dollar lawsuits. They're just not.
No.
They don't collect enough fees for that, and they have staff they have to hire and everything. So that's not going to happen. So if you have a collapse of the National Association of Realtors and the MLSs, then the governing bodies of real estate, then real estate
becomes the wild west.
It becomes the Wild West, right?
Yeah.
So then I say to myself, well, who is capable to step in and fill the void? And there's only one name that actually comes to mind out of all of them, and it's Zillow.
Yeah.
And you see, in 2015, Zillow acquired its near-peer competitor, which was Trulia, for $2.5 billion.
Yeah.
And then in the same year, they acquired .loop, which is a contract management software system that a lot of brokerages use. For instance, Berkshire Hathaway or Home Services of America, one of the largest brokerages in the industry.
Yeah.
And then just a few years later, in 2018, Zillow acquired Mortgage Lenders of America, which was later rebranded in 2019 as Zillow Home Loans. But what it gave it was the ability to do title work and give loans, home loans.
Yeah.
And so then in 21, Zillow acquired Showing Time, which gave it the capability to schedule showings for buyers and sellers to negotiate on a time on when might be best for them to view a home. And then lastly, just last year, Zillow, cherry on top, acquired the largest real estate client relationship management software company, which is Follow Up Boss. Now, in an industry or in a world, in a catastrophic failure of the real estate industry where the MLSs and the National Association of Realtors goes away, Zillow could quickly step in as the void, the person that fills the void, because most buyers shop for their home on Zillow.
Yeah.
So they go to Zillow, they click on a house, they have the little showing time times down there, days and times, so the buyer can say, oh, I want to see it on Friday at 5.
Yeah.
Now, the seller is listed the property with Zillow, so they click, okay, I don't have to use an agent because I just click on this time, Saturday at 5, click on the time, it notifies the seller. The seller says, okay, yeah, Saturday at 5 is great, I'll leave the door unlocked, or maybe Zillow gives them some type of a lockbox key number or door code, whatever.
Yeah.
And the buyer goes in, views the house. Oh, I love it. Zillow says, great, we're going to set you up with one of our loan officers, gives them a loan. Now Zillow sends them to Zillow Home Loans. They get approved for a loan. Now they put in an offer through .loop, which is a contract management system that most real estate brokers or agents have heard of and have used in the past. The contract is written and agreed to between the buyer and the seller, and then you have a transaction because Zillow Home Loans also does title and escrow, so they could do title, escrow, and close the transaction. Meanwhile, Zillow is the main one and really the only person who could profit off of the collapse of the real estate industry.
You know, it's funny because, I've been following everything you've been following about Zillow and everything, and I'm not a hater on Zillow, to be quite honest. No. I think what they're doing is exactly right. Now, I will say, with as much chaos as they're going with the status quo in the real estate industry, if they don't make that move to take over now, their executive leadership is fucking
No, I think they wait.
You think?
If they come in now, there's still going to be competition. But if they wait until after the lawyers bleed the NAR dry and there's no fight left in them and they have no choice but to give up, businesses give up because they run out of capital. The lawsuits tackle the capital problem. They can't get insured anymore because everybody knows that they're gunning for them. Yeah. The MLSs get bled dry. They can't afford to sustain themselves either. They run out of capital. They die. At that point, Zillow steps in as the void. They do it subtly. It's like, hey, come list your house on our website. We have the largest shoppers, the largest demographic is shoppers who are shopping for homes, shop on Zillow. We're the number one site. Now, here's the thing. I started asking myself, why all of a sudden did homes.com start dumping tons of money into advertising? They ran so many ads during the Super Bowl. Does homes.com have a clue that maybe this is the right time to get into this industry, and maybe they see themselves as somebody who could rival Zillow in a world where the National Association of Realtors and MLSs are defunct?
I don't know. They have statisticians. They can measure risk in different ways that we can't measure risk. We just don't have that type of talent to help us out.
I don't think it's the talent, it's the data. We don't have access to the data.
True. Yeah. You know what? Again, but here's the problem with Zillow. It's their revenue, okay? So how do they get revenue? You think about it, because their public site is free. So any user can go on it and search for homes and blah, 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 blah. But how do they typically get revenue? They get revenue off people buying their stock. So they have working capital. They also have agents that pay them. So anybody that looks at a house online on Zillow, and you call and you reach some sort of agent other than the listing agent, and it's because that agent or their team member or their brokerage, which is the real estate company, paid for that phone call. And that phone call in our area, I think last time I checked when I was buying leads, that was somewhere around $1,000 per phone call.
Easy.
Yeah. So about $1,000 per phone call. That's what it cost for you to connect to that agent. So at $1,000 per phone call, let's just average that and say that just for a variable. $1,000 per phone call, that's the revenue they're generating, plus the advertising. Because if you're a user and you go on Zillow and you're looking around for homes, you see these agent faces pop up. Those agents are paying to be there. So that's another revenue stream. The other revenue stream that they have also is Zillow Offers, where they offer cash offers for homes. Those are usually distressed properties. They're getting close to possibly foreclosure, or it's just a property where these are typically properties we buy. So these are typically
as investors.
So these are folks that it's just too much maintenance done, too much damage to the property where they couldn't reasonably sell it in a market where lenders have certain condition requirements on that house in order for these home loans to be approved. So they have to do it in unconventional ways to sell it. That's where cash offers come in. Zillow is offering that too.
Plus their home loans.
Plus their title work.
Yep.
So interesting how Zillow ends up doing that, because if they can't do the flex program where they're getting 35% of a commission, that commission no longer exists. Possibly now you're selling ads to agents that would buy it for buyers, but agents won't invest in buyers if there's no commission. So, okay, there's no revenue there. So you're almost solely going to have to go off of the revenue of Zillow home loans and cash offers or stock purchasers. So I don't see... Zillow has a very hard predicament in this case, because they can lose two revenue streams like that, and could be major revenue streams. And how does that keep the company from continuing unless they do that transition very, very strategically?
Yeah, but see, I don't think one shoe drops until the other one does. See, I think you're still going to have agents who are going to continue to invest in leads until there's some ruling that comes out and definitively says, hey, sellers can't pay commissions.
Okay, until that happens, though, then what? I mean, so once that does happen, let's just say it does happen. Let's say that DOJ gets involved, everybody, and let's say the Supreme Court doesn't agree with the NAR or the Home Services of America, which is Berkshire Hathaway. And okay, great. We have to decouple commissions, and buyers, no shit, have to pay their buyer agent's commission. Great news for sellers, but is it great news? Here we go to Zillow. They're no buyer agent is going to, the agent that's buying leads for buyers, no fucking way they're going to buy leads. They're going to be fucking idiots if they do this. If they buy leads with no fucking guarantee of calculating their return on investment. So if they can't calculate their ROI and figure out what the commission is going to be if they buy $1,000 for a fucking phone call, there's no way that they're going to keep buying fucking Zillow advertising. It make no damn sense. You'll dig yourself into the fucking debt and you'll be done in the real estate business. What else are you going to do? So other than that, it's Zillow would get their money from Zillow Home Loans, and which is 500 basis points, which is 5% of the loan value. Other than that, they'd just be on par with every other lender. There is a clear path to taking over the industry. The question is how Zillow will initiate that and make it happen. They're going to have some executives that are very fucking smart and know what the fuck they're doing in order to make this happen. But if this was any time in history where this was the clear path to taking over, this is the time of chaos in the industry.
Yeah, but see, then I think they have to worry about a monopoly being called also. Antitrust division, DOJ says, no, this is a monopoly. We can't allow that to happen either.
But they still got competitors. They got Redfin. They got
I don't think so, because Redfin's also part of lawsuits and stuff like that also. Plus, they haven't really ever turned a profit either. They've been operating in the red for a very long time, so I can't see them actually being a competitor in this. The only one person that actually stands a chance in this is Homes.com. And I'm not...
Homes.com?
Homes.com.
Really?
They are spending billions of dollars on advertising.
How are they getting the money?
CoStar bought Homes.com, and CoStar also owns Apartments.com. And so therefore...
Then Rent.com then probably too.
Yeah, they have the backing, and they're literally the only person that I can see in the space that can compete on that level with Zillow, and they're the only ones who has the capital that can outlast the fight.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes a duopoly of these two right here, because Realtor.com goes to the wayside with the NAR.
But no, I thought NAR doesn't own a significant section of Realtor.com anymore.
They own a portion of it, but somehow it would have to be separated. In a lawsuit situation where they have to pay fines and fees, and that somehow they have to be separated. They have to sell off their portion of Realtor.com, their stake in it, in order to pay off lawsuits.
Well, shit, man. Probably have to continue to do this on another podcast.
Yeah, this could go way into the weeds.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in and listening to our banter. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think about it. Let us know about the NAR ruling. If you're a homeowner, are you going to offer a buyer agent commission, having heard all this, or not? And home buyers, let us know what you think as well. This is going to add to your cost of home ownership. Is this something you're going to have to keep putting off, year after year after year until you save enough money? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. See you soon.